friends, and welcome to my back room here in sunny Tampa Bay, Florida. And in this video today, I answer your questions that you asked me. And gang, before we go any further, I just wanted to let you know that I tried my best to answer each and every one of them. So if I didn't get to your specific question, I do apologize. There was just so many questions, and unfortunately I couldn't get to all of them. But I did try my best, and maybe some of the questions that I did answer may have answered your question as well. For years now, y'all have asked me to do something like this, and I have to admit to you, I've tried to shy away from doing something like this, but I said to myself about a year or two ago, when I get to 100,000 subscribers, I'll do a question and answer video, and I'm past that now, so it's time to do this video. Alright, so let's jump into this. Now, these questions that y'all asked me, they came from emails, they came from comments, they came from a community post on YouTube and on Facebook. So let's begin. Okay, so Greg asks, what is your all-time favorite chord voicing? Oh, that's super easy. It's a 6/9 chord, otherwise known as the Damian Bacci chord. Damian, when did you start playing guitar? Well, I started playing guitar in 1986. I was 12 years old. And actually, I may have mentioned this before, but I am left-handed and I write with my left hand here, but I play righty. Now, originally, I wanted to play lefty, and I had asked my parents for a left-handed guitar. But back then, they weren't really available in certain areas. Now, my parents and I, we didn't know anything about guitar, so we had no idea that you could just take a right-handed guitar and flip it over upside down and reverse the strings. We just didn't know that. And I was only 12 at the time. I didn't start listening to Jimi Hendrix till I was 13. And then maybe I would have realized, at that point, hey, Jimmy's guitar is upside down. But I didn't start listening to him yet till a year later. So playing right-handed on a right-handed guitar was how I started. And at times I've often wondered to myself, if I started playing lefty, would guitar have been easier for me in the beginning? Because I struggled at first. I also was young, but I did struggle learning the instrument my first year, and would it have been easier if I was playing left-handed? Who knows? We'll never know. It doesn't matter now, but it's just something I've thought about once or twice. But if you're watching, how many of you are left-handed and play righty? I'd love to know. And the next question is, what was your first guitar? Well, my first guitar was a late 60s, early 70s Japanese electric guitar. And here's a picture of me playing that guitar in my grandmother's backyard in 1986 back in Long Island, New York. Now, I believe the guitar was an offshoot brand made by Tesco. There wasn't a name on the guitar or anything. It just had this funky emblem on it on the headstock. Now, my first brand name electric guitar that I was really excited to get, I was stoked to receive this. My parents bought me a BC Rich Gunslinger in 1989, and we bought it at a Sam Ash guitar store there. Man, I was stoked to own that guitar. I was a happy teenager, I tell you. And then in 1993, I had purchased my first semi-hollow body guitar. It was a Vantage 335 style guitar, and that started my love and addiction for all things semi-hollow and hollow body guitars. And I do wish now, for many years, that I never got rid of that guitar. I shall never let it go. I had sold that guitar. It was a trade-in, actually, to pay for my first Gretsch. And that didn't cover it all. Believe me, I had to pay a lot of cash for the Gretsch as well. But that did help soften the blow of purchasing my first Gretsch guitar, brand new. Damian, who are some of your all-time favorite old-school guitar players? Well, that's pretty easy. Definitely Charlie Christian, also Cliff Gallup, T-Bone Walker, Grady Martin, Jimmy Rivers, Junior Bernard, George Barnes, and Hank Garland. Just listen to Hank Garland's Sugarfoot Boogie, and you'll realize he's one of the best players ever to put his hands on a fretboard. He takes that tune, which is basically just a 12-bar blues, and he just takes it to another level. It's a masterclass on how to take a 12-bar blues and make it into something astonishing. But yeah, check out Sugarfoot Boogie if you have never heard it. You'll hear what I'm talking about. He's just so good. Everything Hank Garland's done, he's so good, so smooth, so articulately fast, just smooth playing, such a good player. Now I've got more favorites, but the list just goes on and on, so we'll just go with the next question. Damian, are you originally from Florida? No, I am not. I am originally from Long Island, New York. That's where I was born and raised, in Suffolk County. And I lived there for 21 years. And the local train station was right down the street from my house, the Long Island Railroad. And I would make New York City my playground as a teenager. I saw a lot of great music performed there, and New York City had the best record stores. Any album you were looking for, any import, they had it. Now, when I was 21 years old, I had moved to Florida because my long-standing passion with BMX trick riding kind of outgrew the Long Island, New York area that I was living in. Basically, I moved from New York to Florida to escape the brutal New York winters. Because in Florida, I could ride all the time, no problems with snow. I also had a lot of problems being hassled by the police there in New York. So basically, it was my passion for BMX that brought me down to this state. And I drove down here in my car with $400 cash. I had a garbage bag full of clothes. I had a toolbox. I had my BMX bike, and I had a guitar. And I've been in this state ever since. And I tell you, it was a lot cheaper to live here back then when I moved here. And for many years, it was pretty cheap. But now it is not the case. It is not cheap to live in Florida. Damian, what bands have you played in? Well, I've played in many bands throughout my career, but two of the biggest groups I've ever been in. One was a swing band that rode the coattails of the 90s swing craze, and that band was called Rocket 88. They were already an established band that I had joined to replace their original guitar player. And I did a recording with them. We did a commercial for Fox Television. We toured. We played some huge, beautiful venues, iconic places, huge shows we did. I learned a whole lot playing in that band. I learned a lot on my guitar, and I learned a lot of life lessons from being in that band as well. Also in the 90s, I formed a rockabilly band called Blue Flame Combo that I played guitar and sang in. We had started out as a traditional rockabilly band, and then we branched off into like a rockabilly punk band. We toured the Midwest, we went up and down the East Coast, all the way up to New England. We recorded some albums. We were on a small label in Canada, and then we were on a British label, Nervous Records, that was basically a rockabilly label over there in the UK, which was pretty cool to us because bands like the Polecats and Restless, they were all on that label, so we were stoked to be on that. And here's a fun little fact. A small picture in this coffee table book has a picture of our very first Blue Flame Combo album cover. Damian, do you still perform live? Yes, I do. I don't play not that often anymore. A couple years ago, I was playing every single weekend, but that has changed, and I play a couple times a year. In fact, I'll be playing at the Rockabilly Battle Royale March 1st in about 2 months, and that'll be exciting. Abigail, my daughter, will be performing with me, and but yes, I do still perform live, just not as crazy as a schedule as I used to. Bumblebee9875 asks, what is your favorite pedal for slapback echo, and how do you have it set? Good question. A lot of folks ask me the same type question. You know, back in high school, I had a Boss DM2, and I used that for many years very happily, and it just died. And so I ended up purchasing Boss's digital delay, the DD3, in the mid-90s, and I used that forever as well. I was very happy with that. I used that for about the next 15 years or so. But for many years now, if I'm using a delay or echo effect on my guitar to do some rockabilly, I'm either using my Nocturne Mystery Brain or my Analog Alien Rumble Seat. Now both pedals are great and I recommend both of them. Tavo at Nocturne is a super cool guy, and so is Jack and his brother Joe at Analog Alien. Both are quality pedals, and I'm very fortunate to be lucky enough to work with both of those companies in the past. And I hope to work with them in the future as well. Both of their brands are fantastic. And I'd encourage anyone watching this to support homegrown companies like theirs if you can. Okay, so moving on. This question is actually two questions. What budget amp would you recommend for surf and rockabilly playing? And the second question is, if your cat Ty was in a band, what instrument would she play? Okay, budget amp. All right, so I would probably recommend the Fender Blues Junior, right? It's a great tried and true budget amplifier. The Fender Blues Junior is what I used when I did some shows in Belgium overseas. Played a couple of shows over there, and that's what I used. Had a Gretsch White Falcon plugged into a Fender Blues Junior. We had it cranked, we had it maxed, we had a little three-piece situation. It worked well, I was happy with it. Some other budget amps that come to mind is the PV Delta Blues and the Roland Blues Cube. I think the 30-watt version with the 12-inch speaker is about $600 new. Those three amps, they're all pretty decent. And also, something that's a real bargain are those mono-price amps. I think you can buy them on Amazon. I think they have a couple different names in different regions. I think they're being sold under another name in Europe. I forgot what it is off the top of my head. But those mono-price amps, they're kind of like modeled after a Blues Junior, and they don't sound bad at all. They're a lot cheaper. But I mean, it's something to look into, you know. They do sound pretty good. And you know what? If you don't like it, you know, you bought it on Amazon, you just say you don't like it, and you ship it back, and you get your money back. So, but yeah, so okay. And now for the second question: if Ty, my cat, was to be in a band, she would be a singer, and that's because she loves to talk a lot, so she's always using her voice. And she demands a lot of attention. And she's also a bit lazy. But we love her here. And man, I spend more time with that cat than any other living, breathing human being on the planet. So I just love her. All right, next question. How did you learn to play so fast? Did you follow a specific regime, or are you just naturally fast? I don't really think of myself as a fast player, but I do love playing to upbeat, fast tempos. You know, a 12-bar blues that's swinging, fast, upbeat. Man, I love playing over that. I live for it. And I admit, I do prefer to play faster tempo stuff than slower tempo stuff. And I feel that I'm better at doing that as well. Now, as a teenager, I was listening to a lot of fast music, so I was kind of forced to play fast. I liked some punk rock stuff. You know, Ramones were a pretty fast band. You know, they downstroked pretty fast. I liked metal music. I listened to a lot of thrash music, and thrash guitar was pretty fast. You know, a lot of tremolo picking, a lot of crazy fast rhythm playing. So maybe I was able to kind of develop playing fast through those styles of music. And I can tell you that when I was 16, 17, and 18 years old, these fingers here, and this wrist, they were a lot faster than they are now. I may be more technically proficient now, but I don't have the speed that I had when I was younger, that's for sure. But now, if we're talking about some old school guitar players, there's a lot of fast players. Charlie Christian, I think, plays very fast. Junior Bernard plays pretty fast. Hank Garland plays pretty fast. I mean, these guys got some fast fingers. And the king of speed, the king of the fast fingers, Jamie Bryant. Oh my gosh, he is so darn fast. I don't know if I could ever play as fast as he does. I have arthritis. I've had it for about 5 years, and man, whenever I play his stuff, woo, it really acts up. Man, just amazing player. So fast, so technical, you know. Whew, we can only aspire to play as good as him. Damian, I've been playing guitar for a few years, but I feel like I'm stuck at a low intermediate level. What advice could you give me to break the rut and improve my playing skills? Well, you're not alone, and we've all been there at one time or another. Something that I would suggest is try to learn something new and different daily on the guitar. Whether it's just a simple new lick, or a new song, or even looking up a new chord to use. Because learning new stuff is like a surefire way to get yourself out of a guitar rut. And I know that's easier said than done, right? But if you can, make sure you get yourself out playing with other players. If you have any musician friends, if you're in a band, play with them, or play with other guitar players if there's any in your area. And I'd also suggest maybe if you're playing a certain style of music, well, try another style of music. Yeah, it doesn't maybe have to be so much different, but maybe if you're kind of like a rockabilly guy, maybe try learning some like slow blues, or study Freddie King a little bit, and move away from Cliff Gallup for a little while. Just change it up a bit, and maybe try setting some goals for yourself. That could help. I had this little thing that I did many years ago, where I learned 10 of my favorite guitar solos, that I really dug. And while learning them, I kept myself busy, I kept myself focused, and I certainly wasn't in a rut. And as I was learning those 10 solos, I did learn new techniques through that process. And I had even recorded myself doing the solos, so I was accountable to learn them, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, learning those solos was fun. I learned a lot of cool new licks and some phrasing, and I challenged myself, and that was fun. Doing that probably only made me a better guitar player. So I hope some of those ideas and things helped. Guitar is a lifelong journey, and there's no speedy way to become awesome in anything. You just gotta practice, and enjoy your time on the instrument. And that's some of the best advice I could give you. All right, here's the next question. Damian, I recently enjoyed your country video. Are you considering bringing more country into the mix? Yes, I am. I will be doing more country, old school country stuff. Definitely, for sure. Thanks for watching those. Glad you dug them. I think a lot of people enjoyed those. I just love country music from the 50s and 60s, and I can't wait to do some more lessons like that on the channel. Portside Guitar 1981 asks, have you ever struggled with stage fright or feeling not good enough to play out? Yes, certainly I have struggled with stage fright in the beginnings. I can remember in junior high school, my band, I was in the 8th grade, we played the talent show. Oh my gosh, I was so nervous. But not nervous enough where I didn't want to do it, My passion for music has always been so strong that it didn't matter, but man, I was nervous. Also, I remember I went to a art institute, and I remember playing like a music showcase. Man, I was so nervous, pacing back and forth. I was going to go out there and play it amongst my peers, other students. Woo! I was so nervous. And I think that's natural. I think all musicians, all guitar players, when they start playing gigs, they're nervous at some point or worried, right? I think it's just a natural occurrence. And I think it's just something that you get over with in time, especially when you play out more and stuff, you'll become less and less nervous. Think of this. This is a crazy analogy, but think of like your very first kiss with a significant other, right? Or the first time you ever kissed somebody. You're super nervous. Right? I know I was nervous, super nervous. I almost wanted to back out of doing the kiss, I was that nervous, right? But if you're a married person now, or if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, you probably kiss them all the time. You're not nervous ever, right? It's just from doing it over and over, you just lose that nervousness, repetition, right? Just think, when you do something often, you do it over routinely, it starts to become less and less of a bother, and it just becomes a normal routine. Now, if you're thinking to yourself that you're not good enough to play out, well, then remember this. 99% of the people at a gig won't even notice if you make a mistake. And the 1% that does notice won't even care. And here's a secret. If you're playing a gig and you make a mistake, just smile. In fact, smile the whole time, right? But smile if you make a mistake. Nobody's gonna care. And if they notice anything, and they did notice, and they see that you're smiling, they're not gonna care either, because you're up there having fun, doing what you wanna do, right? Playing a guitar. So just smile. Smiling goes a long way. Just go out there and don't be intimidated about playing live. Playing live is some of the best moments in your life. Some of my best moments in my life, the best feelings in my life have come from live shows. So, don't stress out too much about it. Get out there and play live. Just believe that you can, and you will.